Hello, we're here with Josh, the head of event operations at Stowaway Festival, and he's here to talk to us and help us prepare for our upcoming Paper 3 exam.
Cool,
So,
thank you for having me.
Josh, could you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, that's all right. So I'm Josh, as I say, event manager, head of event operations at Stowaway Festival, which is held probably less than a mile away from the school here. I look after everything. We sort of separate it as like colourful and black and white. So I've got my colleague Lucy who looks after all the marketing, socials and the branding, that side of things, and I look after everything else to do with the event operating, so from fencing to toilets to dealing with the artists and the staging, crewing, everything like that. I get involved in. So it's a really small team. There's 5 of us that work full time on Stowaway and a few other events that we do on the site. So yeah, we're across pretty much everything to do with the event between us. So yeah, hopefully this is going to be useful for you guys.
Thanks. Perfect. So what sets apart Stowaway Festival from other festivals in the industry?
Sure. So
Oh, you've got one. Sorry.
that's all right. So at Stowaway, we are incredibly family friendly. We sort of internally bill ourselves as a boomtown for people who've had children and want to be able to take their kids to a festival but still have that sort of boomtown feel to it. So our slogan is for old ravers, new ravers and little ravers. All the activities for kids and for adults as well are free, including the ticket. So right down to the funfair rides that you can go on the Ferris wheel or the Lighthouse Helter Skelter as many times as you want. It's totally free. We want everyone to be able to get involved with everything, leave the sort of day-to-day behind and just come and immerse themselves in Stowaway. We've got a really diverse lineup of music, which we're really proud of, and yeah, just hopefully make it accessible for as many people as possible.
Perfect, thank you. Do you think that festivals are now kind of embedded in the culture, like British culture?
I think they were, but I do think post-COVID they've slightly lost their place, which is a shame, and is something that we're hoping we'll see the trend come back to being more commonplace in British culture. The big boys, Live Nation, Festival Republic, Vision 9, those sort of people have taken in my opinion, the spark out of festivals really. It's become really commercial. They're just advertising machines, and it's not about what festivals used to be, which was an escape from every day and seeing those artists that you'd pay hundreds of pounds to see on an arena tour, like being able to see them in a field with a lineup of everyone else. I think that element and escapism has been lost, but the readjustment in the market is happening, and I think in the next few years we'll sort of see that resurgence and come out the other side.
And what key responsibilities do entrepreneurs have when organising these like live music events?
A lot of tenacity and deep pockets. It's really expensive. You've got to be prepared to not make money for the first 5-6 years at least. That's like before you even start to think about breaking even, let alone making a big profit. I always liken it to, if you were setting up a factory, you're going to spend millions buying machinery and plant and buying the actual warehouse, whereas we spend not millions quite, but we spend our money in buying our audience and buying a good reputation. So we have to lose money for the first 5-6, however many years, to build that brand and the awareness before we can start to make our money. So you've just got to be in it. A lot of people dabble for 1 year, 2 years and realise that it's not everything it's cracked up to be, and run away from it. So yeah, you've just got to dig your heels in and ride the really rough times that comes with it.
Thank you. What personal qualities do musical entrepreneurs have nowadays?
So for festivals specifically, you've got to be prepared to put in the graft as well as being tenacious. It's a lot of hard work. It's not all sitting backstage slipping champagne. It can be really grueling work at times, really long days, and you've got to be prepared to turn your hand to anything. Like, I'll put up fences, I've moved toilets, do anything and everything on site, because if you're that first person there and something needs doing, you've just got to be able to do it, and lead your crew by example. There's no point having a team of people seeing you sit back and watch everything happen, because that's not good management. And especially if you're starting from scratch, you've got to be prepared to get your hands dirty and literally do it, whatever is needed to make that festival happen, because you're selling tickets and you've got that year to plan. Those people are coming on that day. You can't stop them coming unless you cancel it, which no one wants to do. So you will do whatever is needed to get everything ready for that day.
Thank you. And how has the music festival market changed over the last decade? And then what have you done to adapt to those changes?
So I think a little bit how I touched on earlier, I think we've seen festivals become way more commercial. Vision 9, for example, who run Boardmasters and a few other festivals, they're an advertising company, and they started festivals as an advertising platform, rather than what we've done is starting festivals through a love of events and music and escapism. That they have just made the market a big advertising machine, and everywhere you go it's all brand partnerships. The stages are sponsored. There's really horrible logos splattered everywhere, and it just doesn't feel, well, it is the real world, but that's what you're trying to escape by going to a festival, in my opinion. So we've had to stay really true to ourselves. As hard as it is to lose money for all that time, we don't want to take on a sponsorship. We don't want to have a brand partner. We want to be stowaway and independent. So we're sort of not adapting. We're just digging our heels in and saying this is who we are. And people are finding us a little bit slower because of that, because we don't have the big money to spend on all the campaigns and get the word out there. But the people who do find us are appreciative of the sort of real, like the true feeling of a festival being back again, because there's not many like us out there that are truly independent.
Considering what you just said about like Stowaway kind of digging their heels in and saying like smaller, is that your aim? Is it to like appeal to like a certain market of people? Yes,
I mean, very family friendly, and a part of that we do want to stay small. I think probably we're aiming for about 5,500–6,000 people this year, and I think our maximum that we'd comfortably go to would be somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000. We've got a really beautiful space that we like using in the way we use it. We could make it fit more people if we turn things around and used it a little bit harsher, but we don't want to do that. So we want to stay consciously small. It feels really safe. The people who are bringing their families can let their kids go off and explore, knowing that it's not a huge site that they're going to get lost in. And we want to retain that feeling of being safe, and even not for kids. If you're with a group of friends and you lose someone, you're never going to be far away from them, and we think that's really important. So we're consciously staying small, which again goes against adapting and all the like standard festival models that are out there at the moment, where we are really different in that respect. Of course we want to grow, of course the goal is to make money, but that's going to happen organically over a longer time and isn't going to feel pushed or forced or unnatural to people who attend the festival.
Perfect, thank you. And what are the main resources that you need to organise and manage when it comes to a big festival? Not a big, but a festival.
So there's a lot of physical resources, for fencing and toilets and staging and track mat. It could go on forever. We have obviously a huge site plan we build a town in a field, basically. There's medical points, there's a fire team, there's a security hub, there's our event control, which the CCTV network and stuff. So there's a lot of like physical resources, but also the people who you work with. Stowaway over the event weekend will employ close to 800 people, even on such a small festival. That's down to everyone working behind the bars, on some of the food vendors. Obviously we've got the site crew that build the event, people looking after the artists, the stage managers, security teams. There's a huge roster of people that are involved in bringing the event together. So managing that can be quite complex and tricky because you've got so many parties that need to come together just for those 3 days and make it happen. It's not like a big company that's working 365 days and getting it right and having the time to put little things right. You've literally got that, you know, there's the week where you build it, some people turn up the day before the event. You've got 3 days to absolutely nail it and get it right, and then get people out and home safely on the other side. So yeah, managing those like human resources is probably the hardest part, to make sure everyone is aligned and knows what we're aiming for.
So how do you ensure like effective coordination between each unit as like a manager yourself?
We work with a lot of the same suppliers who we've worked with for a long time. That's something we really pride ourselves on, is like most people who we work with, we've worked with from the very start. We don't change contractors. We don't go chasing after the best price just for the sake of it. We'd rather have people who we know we're in safe hands with. So as they come back year on year, our input to them becomes less and less because they know the event, they've seen it. We encourage a lot of them to bring their families down to the festival, because if they've got their partners and children or whoever they're with them, they're going to want to put on a better show. And my mantra is always, if you look after the people who are on the customer facing side of it, the customers are going to have the better time. Like, I would rather look after a member of staff than a customer, because that member of staff is going to see way more customers than I'll see. So yeah, we encourage them to bring their families, like I say, and they want to really put on a good show for them. And yeah, just working with them year after year, they get to know it and they know the site, and it takes less and less input from us. At Stowaways, and it's coming into its 4th year now, and we're already seeing that we're having to do a little bit less each year on that side of like human resource management. The first year was really hectic. Even so, we run quite a few other events with like the same team of people, but in a very, very different way to how Stowaways run. So that first year was a big transition, getting them used to what we want Stowaway to be, because it's all in our heads, and we need to get that out to even your medics and your fire team. They need to know how we want Stowaway to come across, just in how they interact with the customers and how they portray themselves around site is really different to how we run our other events. So yeah, just try and really communicate with everyone, which can be a big task because there's so many, and explaining the few weird little ideas you've got in your head, trying to get them out into a way that makes sense to a medic or a security guard, so they can spread that message across the weekend.
Perfect. And then my last question is, how do you promote Stowaway in a way that will attract a similar audience to Glastonbury, because it's all family friendly, but like different people?
That's a really good question. I don't get involved with that much of the promotion, but we do it. We rely really heavily on word of mouth. It's free, so we try and capitalise on that as much as possible. So straight after the festival, we have like an exclusive sale for the people who are on site with us, and they can share that with their family and friends, and we run that for a really limited time. So that gets a lot of people in the bank straight away before we've released any lineup for the next year. Literally the Monday morning as the event closes, we'll release those tickets for that week, as a sort of just spread the good word. Like, you've still got that high of being at the festival, like book your tickets for next year now. It's a cheaper price, and they can tell their family and friends, and well, there's all the excitement there. And then as far as other advertising goes, we rely really heavily on social media as well. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We try and get our word across those platforms as much as possible. We've got incredible teams who work to find the right audiences. I have no clue how that works, because it's so complex working out how Facebook and all those algorithms work. Happily leave them to it. And then we have some really traditional marketing. We do flyer drops around local towns. We still have a really local customer base, so we flyer loads of local areas. We put posters up in post offices and village shops. We take out some billboards at train stations at key dates throughout the year, and we can see year on year where our customers are coming from. So as we see a market emerging, so Bristol for us has taken off quite heavily. We sort of expected it because a lot of our DJ talent comes from Bristol, so naturally they bring people who know them from the town. So we advertise locally around here, Milton Keynes, Northampton, Bedford, those sort of places, and then our next biggest place we hit is Bristol, before we then go into like the Cotswolds or anywhere. So we sort of jump all over based on last year's data as to where people are buying tickets and coming from. We can't compete with Glastonbury. We're never going to be booking Beyonce or any of the people that they book. So just word of mouth, making sure people come and have an amazing time and want to spread the word on our behalf. Really, that's our main focus for marketing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the Stoics? Yeah.
Answered everything.
I have a question, if that's all right.
Sure.
You can repeat it so I don't come over. So lots of seasonal recruitment going on for your festival, in competition with Silverstone and all the other stuff around here.
Yeah.
How do you attract the right talent?
So a lot of our like people who just come in for the 3 days for the festival, we actually do outreach to a lot of universities who offer event management courses. It's how I started. I did event management at university, and I, like any opportunity I could to go and work at a festival, I took it because that's really, you can't get experience without starting as scanning tickets on the gate or just helping it in an information point, telling people where the toilets are. Like, everyone has to start somewhere. So they're paid roles, and we offer those out to university students who want to get their first bit of festival experience on their CV. We recruit locally as well. It's a local festival. If people want a free ticket to come and join in, they can have as many hours as they want, or they can work a couple of hours a day, get paid for those few hours, and then enjoy the festival for the rest of the weekend. So there is that opportunity to balance that. So we don't feel too much competition. We retain a lot of staff year on year because they like the event and they want to come back, which is really nice. It works for us because they know the event. Again, it's like working with the contractors year on year. If you work with the same people on the ground scanning the tickets, it's one less person you've got to brief, and they're coming back because they like the event, not just because we're putting some money in their bank account at the end of the weekend.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions?
Finally, how do you think that the festival industry will change within the next sort of 10 years?
I really hope we go back to sort of pre-COVID times where everyone wanted to go to a festival. What we're seeing now, especially with the bigger artists, there's a huge focus on arena tours. And artists can make so much money for them. So as much as the industry needs to change, that needs to sort of be artist-led, because they're not making money from selling CDs and albums and streams anymore. They're making their money on tours. And they can make so much money from arena tours that when a festival approaches them, some of the headliners, not that we're booking absolutely, but if you want a good name for like Leeds and Reading, they're talking millions for that hour slot, because they know they could do an arena tour and make that money. And it's something we find hard as a festival, is that you're paying over the odds for the talent because they sort of control the industry at the moment. And I hope that becomes apparent and they realise that festivals are needed to help the music industry as a whole survive, because a music industry can't just survive on arena tours, because you can't support the DJs who are just finding their feet, because that sort of DJ will never be booked to support on an arena tour. So by the artists reducing their fees and helping promote festivals as a whole again, we're going to be able to see a whole new wave of talent come through. And that's where I really hope we go. And I hope we move away from having Cinch sponsor festivals, because that really turns my stomach, seeing a car garage sponsor a main stage. It just feels so wrong.
Yeah,
and is really far away from what festivals used to be, in my opinion, should be.
Thank you so much for your time.
That's all right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in to talk about Stowaway Festival.
You're welcome.
It's been very insightful, and we look forward to applying this to our summer exam. So thank you.
I hope it's helpful.
Thank you.